Every empire believed it would last forever. None did. Rome, Ottoman, Mongols, all collapsed. Why? What makes one empire rise and another fall? As we look around the world today, can we find any patterns in history repeating themselves? History is filled with examples of great empires that have risen to power only to fall into ruin. So what are the warning signs of an empire's decline, and are we seeing any of these signs in today's world? Well, there are several patterns that can be seen in the fall of many empires. One is corruption. As an empire grows, its leaders become more focused on maintaining their power than serving their people. In the Roman Empire, for example, the Emperor Nero was known for his extravagance and cruelty. In the Ottoman Empire, the Sultan's wife, Roxolana, had a negative influence on the Sultan and the empire's decline. Another pattern is inequality. When an empire becomes too wealthy, it can become divided between the rich and the poor. The gap between the two groups can become so wide that the empire becomes unstable and eventually falls apart. For example, in the 18th century, the Russian Empire became increasingly unequal between the nobility and the commoners. This inequality contributed to the empire's eventual collapse. A third pattern is arrogance. As an empire grows, its leaders may begin to believe that they are invincible. They may take risks that they wouldn't have taken otherwise and make decisions that are not in the best interest of the empire. For example, the Mongol horde grew so rapidly that its leaders took risks, expanding too quickly and overextended their domain. Another reason empires fall is when they expand beyond their ability to control. When an empire gets too big, it becomes difficult to manage and control. The leaders may be able to hold on to power for a while, but eventually the empire becomes weak and vulnerable to attack. For example, the Roman Empire expanded so much that it became difficult for them to defend their borders. This led to the empire becoming weaker and eventually falling. Also, internal division can destroy an empire from within. When an empire is divided by internal conflict, it can become vulnerable to outside attack. For example, during the 3rd century crisis, the Roman Empire was weakened by civil war, which allowed Germanic tribes to invade and sack Rome. Another factor that can lead to the fall of an empire is when luxury weakens the people. As an empire becomes wealthy, its citizens may become soft and decadent. They may become lazy and undisciplined, and the empire may lose its strength. For example, in the late Ottoman Empire, the Sultan's court was known for its luxury and decadence. This contributed to the empire's weakness and eventual fall. So let's fast forward to modern times. Are we seeing any empires repeat these mistakes? Well, the United States is often considered a global superpower, but it faces many of the same challenges that past empires have faced. The growing gap between the rich and the poor, the focus on short-term gain over long-term stability, the increasing cost of healthcare and education, the decline of manufacturing, and the opioid epidemic are just a few of the issues facing the U.S. today. Now, it is important to remember that just because some empires of the past have fallen doesn't mean that our current superpower will do the same. However, it does make us wonder if we are heading in the right direction. The real question isn't if an empire will fall, but when. It is up to us to learn from the mistakes of the past and make sure that we do not repeat them. History doesn't repeat, but it does warn.